The silence behind her smile. Ana de Armas smiled on set, as always. The crew clapped after the scene. Lights turned off. Camera stopped rolling. But as people walked away, laughing and chatting, Ana stood still. She kept smiling, but her fingers tightened around the script in her hand. No one noticed. They never did. Not the way her shoulders stayed stiff. Not the way her eyes blinked a little too slow. The pain was hidden under makeup and the mask of a professional actress. Keanu Reeves watched her from the side. He had been quiet during most shoots, like always. He was kind, soft-spoken, and respectful. He never forced conversations. But he noticed things others missed. He had seen that smile before, on people who were breaking inside. He waited until the crowd thinned. Then he walked toward her, slow and easy. "You okay?" he asked, not pressing, just offering. Ana nodded quickly. "Yeah, just tired." Keanu didn't believe it. He didn't push either. Instead, he walked beside her toward the dressing rooms, silent. Sometimes silence speaks louder than concern. She looked at him, and for a second her smile faded. "It's been a hard week." He nodded gently, allowing her to say more or say nothing. She chose the second. That night, Keanu stayed behind in his trailer longer than usual. He thought about his past, about how grief hides behind strong faces. He had learned that people don't always want comfort. Sometimes, they just need someone to be present. The next morning, he brought her a small paper bag. "I found this bakery last week," he said casually, handing it to her. Inside was a slice of cake. Not fancy, just soft and warm, with a small folded note. "No need to smile today if you don't feel like it." Ana stared at it longer than expected. She didn't eat the cake right away. Instead, she folded the note and slipped it into her jacket, pocket like a lifeline. Later that day, they had a long scene to film. She was supposed to cry in that take, but when the cameras rolled, the emotion felt too real. Her lips trembled before the scene even began. The director thought it was brilliant acting. Only Keanu knew better. After the shot, she sat on a wooden crate behind the set. Keanu came over and quietly sat next to her. "I lost someone too," he said simply, without drama. "Years ago. My sister." She turned to him slowly. The silence wrapped around them again, but this time, it felt safe. "My brother," she whispered. Keanu gave a soft nod. "You don't have to tell me everything, or anything. Just, I get it." For the first time, her eyes filled with tears that had nothing to do with acting. They stayed there, not falling, just heavy with a story no one else knew. And Keanu didn't rush them. The crew called them back. They stood. She wiped her eyes. But when she walked this time, Keanu walked just a little closer beside her. As the days passed, people noticed she laughed a little more when Keanu was around. Not loud laughs, just small ones, real ones. They didn't know why. They didn't ask. But something had changed. She didn't talk about her brother yet. Not to him, not to anyone. But she started bringing her own little paper bags. One day, she gave him a sandwich. Another day, she left a book by his chair. She didn't say anything about it. He didn't ask. One evening after filming wrapped late, she stayed back. The studio was nearly empty. Keanu sat outside on a bench reading. "Can I tell you something?" she asked quietly. He looked up and nodded. "He was 16, she said. "We were close. He was full of jokes, stupid ones. He loved skateboarding and mango juice. He died last year. Sudden. Brain thing. I was filming when it happened. I didn't even get to say goodbye." Her voice broke on the last word. Keanu closed the book slowly and listened. "That's all. No advice, no empty words, just presence." "I kept going," she said, filming, smiling, laughing. Everyone said I was strong. But I didn't feel strong. I felt like a balloon, floating, empty inside. Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. People think strength is smiling through pain, but real strength is talking about it, like you just did. She looked at him. For the first time in months, her shoulders relaxed. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu stood up, gently placed his hand on her shoulder, and said, "You don't have to carry it alone." That night, Anna cried for the first time in private since the funeral. And when she did, she didn't feel alone, because someone had finally seen her. Not the actress, not the smile, not the performance, but her. And in that quiet corner of a loud, busy set, something beautiful had begun. A bond unspoken but deeply felt. After that night, things didn't suddenly become bright. Grief doesn't leave like that. It doesn't vanish with one conversation or melt away because someone listens. It lingers. It rests behind the eyes. But something in Anna had shifted. She no longer felt like she was holding her breath. Keanu kept showing up, not just for work, but as a presence. He never forced himself into her space, but he was always nearby. Like a quiet anchor in the chaos of cameras, costumes, and countless people asking her to perform emotions she was barely holding together inside. On a Thursday morning, Anna arrived on set early. It was still dark. The crew hadn't arrived. Keanu was already there, sitting by a metal step outside the building, sipping from a thermos. He looked up and smiled gently. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, walking up beside him. He shook his head. "Not really. Too many thoughts." She nodded. "Same." They sat there in silence. Birds chirped somewhere in the distance. The city was just waking up, but for a while it felt like only they existed. Then he spoke. "You ever feel like you're playing someone even off camera?" Anna turned slowly to look at him. "Like, everyone sees you as the strong one," he continued. "The one who's got it together. And after a while you stop correcting them." She gave a small laugh. Not mocking, not cold, just surprised. "Yes, all the time." Keanu looked down at his thermos. "You know, I used to ride the subway in New York, just so I could feel normal, like no one expected anything from me." Anna leaned back on her hands, eyes drifting toward the morning sky. "I go to a grocery store at midnight, no makeup, hoodie, on. No one recognizes me then. And for 10 minutes, I feel human again." He looked at her and said softly, "You are human, even when the world forgets it." Her lips pressed together, her throat tightening. The director arrived shortly after. The crew started setting up. The world rushed back into movement. The day's scene was heavy. It mirrored too closely what Anna was going through. A moment where her character lost someone. The script called for tears. Real tears. And action began. Anna tried. She thought of everything. Her brother. The emptiness. The night she found out he was gone. But nothing came. Not a single tear. The director called cut. Then another take. And another. Still nothing. She stepped off set, heart pounding with frustration. Someone whispered that she was off today. Another assistant muttered, "Maybe she's tired." Anna went behind the trailer and sat on the concrete ground. She felt cold and numb. Keanu found her minutes later. He didn't say anything right away. He simply lowered himself beside her. "They want real emotion," she said bitterly. "But when I actually feel something real, I have to hide it. Now that I need it, it won't come." Keanu reached into his jacket and handed her something wrapped in a small white cloth. "What is it?" she asked. "Something that helped me when I couldn't cry." She unwrapped it slowly. It was a tiny music box. Old, simple, the kind a child might have. "Open it," he said. She did. A soft melody played, gentle, pure, like a lullaby from another time. As it played, something cracked inside her. Her breath caught, her chest tightened, and tears, slow and heavy, rolled down her cheeks. Keanu didn't look at her while she cried. He looked straight ahead, letting the music fill the space between them. When the scene resumed an hour later, Anna walked back on set. Her eyes still red, no makeup, no pretense. And when the camera rolled, she didn't act. She lived the scene. The director said nothing after calling cut. He just stared, mouth slightly open, before nodding slowly. The crew stayed quiet too. They knew they had witnessed something raw, something real. Afterwards, Anna sat in her trailer. She stared at the little music box resting on the table. Then she pulled out her phone and opened a photo of her brother. He was laughing in the picture, hair messy, eyes squinting from too much joy. She whispered, "You would have liked him. He listens like you did." Later that week, Anna found out Keanu had quietly asked production to give her a week off. Not because she needed rest, but because he believed she needed space to be herself, not just the role she played. She didn't find this out from him. She overheard it from the assistant director. When she asked Keanu about it, he just shrugged. "I figured you might want to go somewhere, breathe a little." "I didn't even ask," she said. "You didn't have to," he replied. So she did go. Not far, just to a small beach 2 hours away. She didn't tell anyone. She sat by the ocean for hours, listening to waves crash like whispers from the past. On her way back, she texted Keanu. "Thank you for giving me space without making me feel invisible," he replied. "Grief doesn't go away. But when someone walks beside you, it stops feeling like a mountain." Anna smiled at the message. Not the usual smile. This one reached her eyes. In a world of lights, scripts, and perfect takes, she had found something unscripted. Something real. Not romance, not fantasy, just kindness. And that made all the difference. The quiet strength behind the curtain. When Anna returned from the beach, the world hadn't changed. But something in her had. She walked on set with the same grace, the same presence. But the mask she used to wear, it had cracked. And now she didn't try so hard to fix it. She found Keanu sitting under a tree near the soundstage, reading again. He looked up as she approached. No dramatic smile, no big welcome, just a quiet nod, a look that said, "I'm glad you're okay," without using words. Anna sat beside him and took a deep breath. "I brought you something," she said. She pulled out a small box from her bag. Inside was a bracelet. Not gold or fancy, just a thin leather cord with 2 tiny shells attached, one white, one gray. "Found it at the beach," she said. "The seller said they represent 2 souls who carry pain differently, but walk together." Keanu didn't say anything. He looked at it for a long time, then slowly tied it around his wrist. "Thank you," he said softly. "This means a lot." That day their scene was a difficult one again. 2 characters dealing with deep loss. Anna and Keanu were meant to argue, then sit quietly on a rooftop set as their characters remembered people they had lost. The cameras rolled, and the air between them felt heavier than the script could hold. Anna delivered her lines with a new kind of truth. Her voice shook, not from performance, but from the memory of her brother's laughter echoing in her heart. Keanu's reply wasn't just acting either. The pain in his voice carried his own history, his sister, his best friend, and all the silent heartbreaks that fame never talks about. When the scene ended, no one clapped. The crew stood frozen. Even the director had tears in his eyes. Afterward, Anna walked off the set and found a small bench outside. Keanu followed a few minutes later. Neither spoke, and they didn't need to. Finally, she looked over. "You know, when people talk about Hollywood, They always mention fame, awards, red carpets, but they never talk about this. About what? Keanu asked gently. About the people who see you for who you are, even when you're falling apart. Keanu looked down, then said, "Sometimes the best part of a story is the chapter no one reads aloud." Anna looked at the sky, a faint cloud moving slow above them. "Do you think it ever gets easier?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "I think it doesn't get easier. We just learn how to carry it better. Some days, we hold it in both hands. Other days, we put it in our pockets and walk forward." She gave a soft smile. "You really should write a book," Keanu chuckled. "Nah, I just pay attention." A few days later, Anna received a package, no sender listed. Inside was a small notebook with a worn leather cover. Each page had a quote handwritten in soft pencil. "Grief is just love with nowhere to go. Some storms don't pass. They just become part of your sky. You survived a day you thought you couldn't. That counts." At the back, one final note. "For the days you need reminders but can't ask for them." She knew instantly who had written it. On set, she said nothing. Just gave him a smile, not a mask, not a fake one, just full of warmth. The next week, something happened. A reporter asked Anna about her perfect smile during an interview. She paused, then answered honestly, "It's not always perfect. Sometimes it hides things. But I've learned, you don't have to hide pain to be strong. You can carry both at once." The clip went viral. People praised her honesty. Fans reached out, sharing their own grief stories. Strangers thanked her for being real. Anna texted Keanu that night, "You were right. People connect to truth more than perfection." He replied, "Truth has weight. But it also sets people free." The bond between them didn't need loud declarations. It grew in the background, in shared silences, in small gestures, in moments no camera ever caught. One evening, after filming a final emotional scene, Anna sat next to Keanu in the studio garden. "Do you ever wonder," she said, "why we meet? Certain people at certain times?" Keanu looked at the trees swaying gently in the wind. "All the time, I think. I think if you hadn't been on this film, I wouldn't have made it through," she said quietly. He turned to her and said, "Maybe you were supposed to meet someone who reminded you that it's okay to feel broken. Maybe we both needed that." Anna blinked slowly. "Thank you for not trying to fix me." "You're not broken," he said. "You're just healing out loud." A breeze passed through the garden. The flowers swayed like they were nodding along, and in that moment, without needing to explain everything, Anna realized something simple but life-changing. You don't need a savior, just someone who stays. The weight of light and shadow days turned into weeks, and the film neared completion. The final scenes were being shot in a quiet part of the studio, far from the buzz of other sets. Anna and Keanu had become the soul of the project, not just for their performances, but for their quiet strength behind the scenes. One evening, as golden light spilled through the windows of the set, Anna stood alone in costume, waiting for her next shot. The crew moved around her, but her eyes were lost in thought. Her hands trembled slightly. The director noticed, but didn't say a word. Keanu approached her slowly, holding 2 cups of warm tea. He offered one with a soft smile. "Chamomile," he said. "You looked like you needed it." She took it gratefully. "Thank you." They sat on the edge of the stage in silence. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "Today is his birthday." Keanu turned his eyes to her gently. "Your brother?" She nodded. "He would have been 17 today. I used to bake a little chocolate cake for him every year. He always said mine tasted better than the bakery's, even though it didn't." Keanu smiled faintly. "Love adds flavor." Anna's throat tightened. She looked down at the cup in her hands. I was thinking of skipping work today. But then, I thought, maybe this film, this role, it's part of how I keep him alive, even just for a little longer. He's alive in you, Keanu said, in how you speak about him, in how you carry his memory. That kind of love doesn't vanish. Her eyes welled up again, but she didn't turn away this time. She let the tears come. The makeup team would fix it later. For now, she just needed to be human. After the scene wrapped that day, Keanu handed her a folded note. She opened it later, in her trailer. Come to the studio rooftop at 8. Just us. When she arrived, the sky was deep blue, and a few stars had started to show. The rooftop was empty except for a small table with 2 candles, a chocolate cake with uneven frosting, and a photo frame, her brother, grinning with messy hair and a skateboard in hand. Anna froze. Her hands slowly covered her mouth. Her eyes flooded. Keanu stepped out from the shadows. I found the photo in that article you once shared. I hope that's okay. She nodded, speechless. I thought we could celebrate him, he said. You said he liked chocolate cake, so I tried. Anna walked toward the table slowly. The cake wasn't perfect, uneven edges, a little too much frosting, but it was the most beautiful thing she'd seen all year. You did this? She whispered. I tried, Keanu said again, almost embarrassed. It's edible, at least. Anna laughed through her tears. It's more than that. It's everything. They sat together, lighting the candles not to wish for anything, but to remember. Anna took a deep breath and said, He used to blow the candles out before I could count to 3. Every single year. Keanu looked at her. Then you should do it for him this time. She closed her eyes. Happy birthday, Lucas, she whispered, and gently blew out the candles. Afterward, they sat in silence again, eating the cake with plastic forks, sharing memories of people they had loved and lost. I sometimes think about parallel worlds, Keanu said quietly. What kind of worlds? Anna asked. Worlds where the people we lost are still here, where we get one more day, one more laugh, one more hug. Anna looked up at the sky. I'd give anything for that. Keanu nodded. Me too, but maybe moments like this are as close as we get. Anna didn't reply. She just leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, Thank you for not letting me be alone tonight. You never were, Keanu replied. The next morning, Anna came in early. She carried a small box in her hands. When she saw Keanu, she handed it to him. Inside was a worn-out skateboard, its grip tape scratched, the wheels barely turning. This was his, she said. I kept it locked away. But I think it belongs out in the world now, with someone who understands. Keanu looked at her, deeply moved. Are you sure? Yeah, she said, her voice steady. I'm ready. He held the board carefully, like it was made of glass. Then I'll take good care of it. And he meant it. As filming neared its end, the bond between them became something even the media couldn't spin into a headline. It wasn't romance. It wasn't gossip. It was something stronger, something built on shared silence, mutual respect, and the kind of kindness that doesn't need to be shouted to be real. They had become each other's shelter in the storm. The storm. They never showed the world. The final week of filming arrived like a quiet storm. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. The project had become more than just a movie. It had grown into something sacred for those working on it, especially Anna and Keanu. The schedule was packed with back-to-back scenes. Reporters buzzed outside the gates, waiting to get statements, photos, anything. The press had started noticing the bond between the two stars. Headlines asked questions like, what's going on between Anna and Keanu? But they didn't understand. They never could. Anna had changed. Her smile was no longer forced. It came slower, yes, but it was real now. People around her noticed how she spoke with more warmth, how she didn't hide in her trailer as much. What they didn't see was that every night, after long days on set, she still stared at her brother's photo before going to sleep. Only, now, she didn't feel as alone when she did it. On Thursday, they filmed the most emotional scene of the film. Anna's character was supposed to break down in front of Keanu's after discovering a devastating secret. She had to scream, cry, and collapse into his arms. The director gave a long speech before the scene, reminding everyone this was the heart of the story. When the camera rolled, something unexpected happened. Anna started the scene, but her voice cracked too early. Her breathing sped up. Her hands trembled. Keanu stepped forward, staying in character, but inside he knew. This wasn't acting. This was real pain surfacing. "Cut!" the director called quickly. "Anna, take 5!" She walked off the set slowly, her eyes wet. Not from the script, from something deeper. Keanu followed a few steps behind. When he reached her, she was sitting alone in a quiet hallway, her back against the wall, head down, hands covering her face. "Hey," he said softly. She looked up. "I'm sorry. Today feels heavy. I don't know why." He sat down beside her on the cold floor. "You don't need to explain." She exhaled slowly. I was thinking how proud he would have been. Lucas. He always said I'd be in a big film one day. He believed in me before I did." Keanu nodded gently. "I bet he still does, wherever he is." Anna smiled weakly. "You know what hurts the most? That he never got to see this version of me. The stronger one. The one who's finally healing." Keanu reached out, placing his hand over hers. "Maybe he sees more than you think. Maybe he sent someone to walk beside you until you could carry yourself again." She didn't respond with words, just pressed her forehead gently against his shoulder. And they sat there, quiet again, holding the weight of her grief together. When she finally returned to set, the crew waited in silence. The director asked if she was ready. She nodded. This time, when the scene began, Anna didn't act. She let everything fall, the pain, the fear, the guilt, the longing. She screamed from somewhere deep, collapsed into Keanu's arms, and wept like she hadn't in years. The room was silent when it ended. No one called cut. No one moved. Even the camera kept rolling for a while longer, just in case. And when it was finally over, Keanu gently helped her up. She was shaking, exhausted. But something inside her felt lighter. That night, as she packed up in her trailer, she found another note from Keanu on her chair. "What you gave today wasn't just acting. It was truth. You honored him with every breath, and we all felt it." She held the note close to her heart. It was the first time she cried that day without feeling broken. 2 days later, they filmed the final scene of the movie. The last lines were spoken, the last frame captured. The director shouted, "That's a wrap!" Applause filled the set. Hugs were exchanged. Crew members posed for pictures, but Anna and Keanu stood quietly to the side, watching everyone. "So, it's over," she said. Keanu smiled. "The film is, but the story continues." She looked up at him. "I don't know how to say thank you." "You don't have to," he said. "You already did." Afterward, they walked to the rooftop. One last time. The cake table was gone now. No candles. Just the sky and the stars and the silence. Anna pulled something from her bag, a small notebook. The one Keanu had given her. It was thicker now, filled with her handwriting. "I added to it," she said. "Every night after filming, I wrote something. Memories, quotes, thoughts. It helped." She handed it to him. "I want you to keep it. I don't think I would have made it without this, without you." He took the notebook slowly, turning it in his hands. "I'll keep it safe. Anna stepped back and took a deep breath. This place, this rooftop, it changed me. You changed yourself, Keanu said. This place just reminded you who you were. As they stood under the stars, a breeze passed through, and for the first time, she didn't feel like a balloon floating empty. She felt grounded, alive, and at peace. Not the end, but something beautiful. Weeks passed after the final day on set. The cast and crew scattered to new projects, new cities, new routines. The studio lights had dimmed, and the stage sets were taken down. The rooftop was locked again. But what had happened there, between two people carrying quiet pain, remained untouched. Anna returned to her usual schedule. Press events, interviews, photo shoots. Magazines asked about the film. Talk shows complimented her performance. Words like raw and powerful were used again and again. She smiled through it all. Not the mask anymore, but a real, soft smile. Yet every night, when the lights dimmed in her room, she'd glance at a photo of Lucas on her bedside table and whisper, "We made it." Keanu, too, went back to his quiet life. Avoiding fame's loud noise, he kept to small places, familiar. Streets and soft mornings. He wore the bracelet Anna gave him every day, never once taking it off. Then came the premiere. The film's debut was set in a grand old theater, with glowing lights and red carpets stretching across the street. Photographers lined up. Fans waited, with posters. And the night buzzed with energy. Anna wore a simple black dress, elegant, not loud. Her makeup was soft, her hair loose. Around her wrist, she wore a thin silver band with a tiny letter L hanging from it. When Keanu arrived, there was a brief stir in the crowd. People clapped. Reporters called his name. He walked the carpet slowly, with his usual grace. No rush, no show. When their eyes met in the crowd, he gave her a quiet nod, and that was enough. They stood beside each other for photos, not posing too close, not distant either, just enough to feel the warmth of presence. Inside the theater, the lights dimmed. The film began. On the big screen, their performances played. Out in silence, Anna's breakdown, Keanu's steady voice, the rooftop candlelight. The final scene of two characters finding hope after grief. As the credits rolled, people stood. A slow clap began, then a wave of applause filled the room. But Anna sat still. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Not from pain now, but from a release she never thought she'd feel. Keanu looked over and gently placed his hand over hers. Outside, cameras waited. For a story, a headline, a rumor. But what truly mattered had already happened far from the flash of lights, on late nights, quiet rooftops, and in the spaces between words. After the event, Anna and Keanu walked away from the crowd, down a quiet alley behind the theater, just to breathe. She looked up at him and asked, "Do you think this story will last? Not the movie. I mean, what we lived." He thought for a moment, then replied, "The world remembers performances, but we remember what saved us." She nodded slowly. "Thank you for saving me." He smiled. "You were never lost, just needed someone to walk beside you for a while." Anna looked at the stars above. They blinked like tiny lanterns in the sky. Lucas had loved stars. "I think he's proud," she whispered. "I know he is," Keanu said gently. They stood there a while longer, letting the night hold them. Then she turned to him and asked one last thing. "Do you think we'll ever talk about all this again?" He smiled softly. "Maybe not in words, but some bonds don't need reminders. They live in the quiet." Anna reached into her purse and pulled out something small. It was another notebook. Empty, untouched. "This one's for you," she said. "Your turn to write." He took it and held it against his chest. "I will." And then, without cameras or applause, they walked away together. Not as stars, not as characters, but as two people who had seen each other's pain, and instead of turning away, stayed. Not all stories need a dramatic end. Some just need truth, kindness, and a hand to hold when everything feels heavy. This was one of those stories.